Join Mike, Brook, and our new market analyst, Sophie, as they take the temperature of the Cleveland real estate market. From low inventory and shifting interest rates to nailing your pricing strategy and mastering psychological staging, they share tips on how to stand out, stay in control, and close with confidence, especially in the returning spring market next year. All this and more on the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley with an exciting episode of the Cleveland Real Estate Investor. With me is Amari and Brook and our new hotshot analyst, Sophie Boland. Sophie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Don't let us scare you away here. As Sophie said, her phone is smarter than she is. But we're not asking her for iPhone tips. We're asking her to be our new analyst for what is the state of the market. Is it hot? Is it cool? You know, where are we on the Goldilocks meter? Before we bring in Sophie, Brook, what's if you had to do a anecdotal temperature check, what would you say the market is right now?
Well, I mean, I'm not seeing as many for sale signs as it was maybe a year or two ago, but I'll tell you a story. We have friends who live on Silsby, and they've had their house listed for 6-7 months, and they had to move to Colorado, and, you know, it's not selling, and, you know, they're panicking. They had to move for work. They had a baby as old as Cooper, and, you know, I looked at the photos. It looks nice. You know, it doesn't look like a dump, and it's ironically on the way to our house on Northwood.
Don't scare me, Brook.
Well, no, I mean, I'm looking at it, you know, grass isn't really cut. The neighbor's yard's not cut. I mean, there's cars going. It's a busy street. You know, they kind of put in the not so great, like, vinyl plank flooring in the kitchen. So it just kind of is like...
And then, of course, the price doesn't match what it looks like, right?
Yeah, and my wife, who's more friends with them than I am, she's like, well, how could this be? And I was like, well, it's not priced right. If it's priced right, it should sell.
Well, that's going to get ahead. We're getting ahead of ourselves because that's going to be part 2, which is sticking the landing, getting that price right in front. My take, and then we'll have Sophie do the final ruling here. I think the market is still warm, but it's not hot like it was 2 years ago. It's not cold like it was in 2009, 2010, 11. Inventory is low. I think people are reluctant to sell their house if they got a great interest rate. They're locked in. So that's causing what I would call an artificial shortage of houses to sell. So let's turn to Sophie. So what's the deal here?
I agree with both of you. I think that it's not, you know, a very cool market, but it's not a super hot market either. I think that it's balanced out a bit. For the last few years, we've heard buyers saying that they can't wait until it's not such a hot seller's market. And now that it's not as intense of a seller's market and properties are not going in multiple offers right off the bat in a couple of days, and maybe they're looking at it on week 2 and they're thinking about writing an offer and they're asking themselves, well, why isn't anybody else writing an offer? Is there something wrong that I'm not seeing? And they're talking themselves out of it. And so for us, what we have to do when we're working with the buyer is remind them, this is the market you were waiting for. You were waiting for it to not be so intense. I know it feels a little uncomfortable now because you're so used to it for the last 5 years. So we're seeing a bit of that in terms of what happens to the overall pricing. The homes that are priced according to the quality of the home. If they're priced well, which means like a little bit below what fair market is, they will get all of the attention because every single buyer will see, oh, this is a good deal. They come to the table. Those properties are still getting multiple offers, which means the buyers are reassured I'm not making a mistake because 10 other people agree with me, and those homes sell. And it's the ones that are either priced a little too high for the neighborhood, for the size, for the condition, that are kind of sitting a little bit longer and not getting multiple offers where we see that buyers just getting a little bit nervous and making or keeping an offer that they've gotten accepted.
Sounds like that situation that happened with one of our longtime clients, Jeff, from DC. I mean, he's listening to this podcast too, where he went high on his house. Where we were down the street, we were selling we actually kind of tucked it just under.
Houses into.
Yeah. But we had Glen 1, we had Glen 2. Glen 1 was ours, Glen 2 was his. And we managed that property for him. He bought that property from us a couple years ago. And I mean, it had appreciated in 2-3 years. So, I mean, he still got that appreciation. All of a sudden, the rental market started cooling. So now he's kind of thinking like us, and maybe it's time for us to sort of exit out of holding all these rental properties, which was the smart thing to do. But I was saying, Jeff, he went high. And I think, Sophie, you probably see this a lot with your clients. They're thinking, hey, it's hot market. I'm going to go for the moon here. Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
James and Martin, hello.
Mm-hmm.
That's a customer of ours putting the house on the market, and they're moving down to Argentina. And this kind of segues a little bit into our part 2, which is sticking the landing, getting that house in mint condition, walk-in condition. Doesn't have to be over the top, granite counters, but it's got to be move-in ready, clean, windows washed, landscaped, the whole 9 yards. And this market will respond to it, where in a cold market like in 2009, 2010, I don't care what you did to that house. Nobody was buying property, right? And that's when we bought a lot of our properties.
Same.
2009, 2010, we had Kingston 1, Kingston 2. It was a fire sale. So continue on your analytics on the market.
Yeah, so definitely not fire sale territory. We're not seeing any of that. We do have still record low homes that are for sale, but we have nervous buyers. We have buyers who don't know exactly what's happening with the economy. They don't know exactly what's happening with their interest rates.
The Trump effect.
Yes, they want to make sure that they're not getting locked into something that in a year is going to be significantly lower, but we keep reminding them you can always refinance.
Yeah.
But so it's a lot of, especially for first-time home buyers, it's just when things start changing, people get uncomfortable and they're not used to being comfortable. And so it could be very scary. And if you don't have the right agent helping you through that and the right lender, a lot of buyers are talking themselves out of the homes that they want.
So you're kind of playing the role of psychiatrist?
Always, yes. And, just reminding them of what their goals were, reminding them of what they said 6 months ago. Remember 6 months ago, you didn't want to buy because there were too many, or 2 years ago, you didn't want to buy. You said you were waiting for this. This is it. This is what you're waiting for. Well, what if, it's not valued where it's supposed to be and, they're asking too much and I've overpaid? And well, that's why you have an appraiser. That's the beauty of that. If you really are concerned about that, you have a lender, they're hiring an independent appraiser. And if you really over offered, they're going to correct that. There's no risk. And so just kind of reminding them of those things. And sometimes you kind of have to be a little tough. Sometimes you have to be a little gentle with them, but just kind of reminding them of what they wanted. And this is a path to get there.
So heat check wise, where are we? We're not hot. We're not cold. We're kind of in between.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're like a completely balanced market, but I would say we're very, very close to it.
Okay. Yeah. That's my take too.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to sticking the landing. Sticking the landing is a phrase. I don't know how I came up with it, but I was with Sophie. We were over at a customer's house. They're getting ready to sell. These two guys he lost his job with the NIH. He's going back to his home country of Argentina. They've been in the U.S. for 25 years. They got a nice house, but they got to get this house sold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they can't be, they're down in Argentina. That would be a nightmare scenario. Now, the one guy, he wants that $500,000, $500,000. He's got that number locked in his head. His partner is more realistic. Now, if this guy goes for $500,000, it's going to be a disaster because he's not going to stick the landing. He's going to fall off the hobble horse or what? The mat when he jumps, because the house is going to sit there at $500,000. There's going to be no multiple offers. It's a nice house, but it's not like a knockout house.
Right.
Okay. And it's aluminum sided, great location in Shaker.
Where Shaker?
On Almar near Canterbury Country Club, Almar and South Woodland. It's a great location. Really nice. Right on the edge of Beechwood and Shaker.
Very pretty street.
Very pretty street. Quiet. Not, it's got a lot going for it. But if they get too greedy, it's going to be like Jeff's house. It's going to sit there. Now they got to start lowering the price. And now there is a kind of a stink to the house. Mm-hmm. Right, Sophie?
Yes. So, yes, if you don't do all of your homework to, like you say, stick the landing, you're going to hurt the value of your property. So it's not just pricing it well, but what can you do? You had mentioned cleaning windows. People don't think about that. It's a bit of landscaping, sprucing it up. I always say you want the house to be shiny when you show it. That doesn't mean it has to be dripping diamonds, but it needs to be shiny, right? So no dirty windows, anything that is damaged, clean it up, fix it, and then price it a little bit below the market. In a market like ours where it's balanced, and it doesn't stay balanced for very long, you want to make sure that you look like a deal. And the reason that you do that is because when you have multiple offers, you are, as a seller, you're in control of the deal, which is what you always want to do. You never want the other side to be in control of the deal. So how, from the beginning, when the market is not necessarily your friend the way that it had been for the last 5 years, how do you make sure that you remain in control throughout the process?
Okay, now let's talk about a little psychological staging. We talked about the physical staging. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about the psychological staging. We do not want to let the market know that these guys are moving out of the country.
Correct, absolutely.
Okay, we don't want it. Now, maybe they're moving, but maybe they are, quote unquote, ambivalent about selling. They love the house. They may be coming back. They're entertaining offers to rent it. Mm-hmm. So this is an opportunity to buy this house, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, let me ask you another question. How many houses did we sell this year, Brook, on our property? 6, 8?
No, it is like 10, 11.
Okay. And we sold them with the furnishings. Mm-hmm. And our realtor was kind of like, well, I don't know. That's another story. But I said, first-time home buyers, it's furnished, and they don't have to take the furniture.
I think that was the key, because if you're a young homeowner, if it was me and I'm coming to a house that's furnished and the realtor says, you can pick what you want, whatever you don't, they'll throw it out. I'd be like, sign me up.
Yeah, how many houses are on the market? Say they're looking at comparable houses, right? Okay. Well, this one's got furniture in it. Mm-hmm. It's not only got furniture, it's got towels, it's got dishware, it's got cookware. These guys aren't taking it to Argentina. Right? So again, we can differentiate that house, good competitive price point, right? Point of sale compliant, looks good from the street. By the way, the roof came out really well.
Okay.
In the front. Roof was very dirty. Windows will be washed. Siding cleaned up real well. So it's going to look nice from the curb. The driveway will be seal coated and patched. So good first impression coming in. Really cool interior. And it's got the furniture. Mm-hmm. Take what you want.
Right.
If you don't want it, we'll give it away.
And I do agree that as a first-time home buyer especially, they don't have furniture. They have their college furniture. And now they're walking into a house. They get to see exactly all this furniture that fits. It's designed nicely. They can imagine their life there. And like you say, all they have to do is sign on the dotted line, bring their suitcase, and that's it. No hassle.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had that on Blackmore, Brook, our first house.
Plus, too, young homeowner, I mean, they don't have the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Point.
Like I remember when I was looking for an apartment to rent in Boston, I mean, it was insane. First month, last month security, and a realtor fee. I don't have $9,000 just kind of sitting there, So I think for a young, if you can make it as easy for them to move in, I think adding that added a lot of, it made it more appealing.
Okay, so that's a house we got. We're going to try to get them. Where do you think that house is going to price at? Where would what would be your number?
I actually spoke to a lender about this issue of being a bungalow and a Cape Cod and how strict appraisers can be with that. And so when we were discussing it, he was saying that, some of them will be super strict and they won't look at anything else. But just like, when we deal with investment properties, you can always guide them, put other properties in the neighborhood in front of them and really make the argument as to why that could be comparable. So I think that if we were to be able to go down that road, and if they are correct that their total finished square footage without the garage is actually 2,800.
Count the garage.
I know.
Maybe that's where Martin sleeps if he's been bad boy.
Maybe, but if it is 2,800 square feet as opposed to 2,250, that we might be in 420s, 430s.
Right.
So we just kind of have to look at that, and we'll have to figure out what actually the square footage is, because the county sometimes is incorrect. And if that's the case, we need to do our homework and show that that's actually.
Now, some realtors will just promise on the moon, right?
Oh, yes. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, they'll flop that sign down. They don't give a shit whether it sells or not, right?
Well, they're hoping, if I just yes them to death, then I get the contract. And then after I have them under contract, then we can, negotiate on the price. The market will humble them. And then I still have the listing.
Right.
Whereas if you tell them, this is really what I think and why I think, and they disagree with that, sometimes you run the risk of kind of pissing them off. And a lot of agents...
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of agents won't go there, right?
Yeah, they won't go there. Or sometimes they just don't know. They'll be like, yeah, that sounds right. They didn't do their research and looked at the comps based on the fact that it is a bungalow. And they'll just say, yeah, in that neighborhood, you're right. You're around 500, 600,000. Absolutely. They completely overprice it. They botch it. Then they never sell it. They withdraw the listing from that agent. They go to somebody else. In the meantime, the value of that property has been damaged.
Right. Now we're talking scenario A, you stick to landing. You're in multiples. You got great qualified buyers. Sometimes you have cash buyers, right? You're getting into a little bit of a bidding war. It's got furniture, point of sale. It's ready to move in. And they're going to end up probably closer to the number they wanted, right? You got to factor in how long it's going to sit in the market. Shaker taxes. Right. That thing sits on the market for 6 months. That's another 10 grand they just lost. Just paying the taxes. Right?
Absolutely. And we did this. We had this issue. We had a house that we were listing in Cleveland Heights. So they had done a lot of things, but the kitchen was a galley kitchen. It was the original kitchen. And we knew that anybody who came through was going to say, I don't like this kitchen. And as is, we figured the house was worth $260. And I convinced the sellers to trust me and list it at $225.
What street was this?
This was on Briarwood.
Oh, it's a good street.
It is a good street. And so we received 12 offers. One of them, the one that they accepted, was cash, no inspection, and they sold it for $270.
It's like a dream.
But you have to do all your homework ahead of time. You have to make sure we had every single document of anything that was ever done to that house. So before we got the offers in, everybody had everything that they needed. Yeah. So it's not you're getting under contract and now you're negotiating, because people think we're negotiating when we are reviewing an offer and we accept an offer. But especially here when we have point of sale, sometimes you have to negotiate 3 more times.
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
Well, and especially if you're bringing in based on inspection. Okay.
Yeah.
Based on inspection. I mean, that our house that we bought, our dream house, boy, I wanted that locked in. I said, hey, just do a quick inspection, but I wasn't going to, I could have, new AC, new this, but I thought this house is a one in a lifetime house. So I wanted to just snap it up. And that's where if you feel like, man, this is a one of a kind house, this is the house, you got other people that are, like you say, affirming your thinking, there you go. As opposed to 6 months at the high, they're coming down. And then what do you end up with? You end up probably with 20% less than what you would have gotten.
Plus, it gets like stinky on the MLS. Like, it's been on for months. Like that's not good either.
How long? Okay, let's think about our Wyatt house. We were getting people. We didn't know that we had a basement water leak. And of course, we had those spring rains that hit.
Right.
That was rain. That was a month sooner.
Yeah. And it was in the corner, and it was the downspout. The basement was bone dry. And I think people were ambivalent. They saw this, and now here's our realtor who's trying to put this deal back, and they're asking for this, they're asking for this. We say, okay, we'll do that, and then they change their mind. I told our realtor, I said, we're out of here. Take it off the market. We ended up fixing the corner, painted the walls in the basement. I mean, night and day now. Cleaned all the windows. Probably, probably should have done that in day one. My mistake. Sent one of my foremen over who doesn't have any kind of get a house ready to sell experience. And so now it's off the market. It's been off the market for 4 months. How long do you have to be in purgatory before you relist it?
So it really depends. Like, are you talking legally with the MLS? Or
I'm just talking just market, street,
market.
Playing poker.
Yeah, so sometimes we'll do that if client has not listened and we've been sitting and now they're like, okay, let's drop the price. So sometimes we'll actually withdraw the listing and create a new listing.
Yeah.
Now, if you do a search of the history, you can see it. But, people have to do that extra step. And sometimes having that fresh listing, I say, if you virtually stage your photos, get new virtual staging so it does look new. But that you can do it pretty immediately.
Right.
If you're switching realtors, it depends if the listing was released or not.
So how long in purgatory?
It really depends. I don't think you have to stay in purgatory very long. I think that you can...
6 months?
I would not sit on a house for 6 months. There's no way. Unless it's a...
We're renting it. I mean,
you're
got money coming in.
Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah.
If you've got money coming in, I would probably not list it in the fall. I would do everything that I can so that it is ready mid-March before
spring market.
Yes, before all the doctors.
So the spring market has returned.
Yes.
During COVID, every month was the spring market. Yeah. So Sophie, getting back to heat check, obviously the spring market has returned. But I did hear, let's ask for our international and California listeners, talk about Cleveland as investments. Good time to buy?
It's always a good time to buy. And it's always a good time to sell. It's just, what are you buying? Where are you buying it? And for how much? right? So you have to understand the market. You have to be able to analyze what the actual rent potential is, and then determine what return you want. You know, some of the clients who come from California, I remember talking to them when I first got into this, and they're like, yes, this property, I'm getting 4.2. This one, I'm getting 4.6. And I'm like, listen, if you're paying attention to what's behind the decimal point, you're not making enough money.
Right.
Like, we're focusing what's in front of the decimal point.
Right.
And so for them, having 7 or 8%, they're super, super happy.
Right.
Now, Cleveland investors who have been here for a long time, we're like 7 or 8%. No way am I spending my money on that. That's not enough for me.
Right.
Right. But we can still find deals right now where you're getting 12, 13% if you're self-managing.
Right. Well, I know we're killing it on Linfield. Brooks, the controller here, so he's looking at the analytics side on the properties that are legacy properties. We will have a session in a couple weeks to talk about our Fairmont mansion.
That's a beautiful house.
You want to buy it? You want to buy
it? It's getting even more beautiful now that we've cleared the forest.
Big, beautiful mansion.
That's right. Big, beautiful mansion.
I think that's how you should market it.
Mar-a-Lago North. I don't know.
Yes.
Whatever. Okay. All right. So we've done a heat check. Stick to landing. Make sure the house is clean, walkable. Final thing, the Northwood house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we'll be talking about this over the next couple of months because we're gearing up to get this house that we bought from a longtime customer who's in assisted living, and they just want out. And that house sat there for a year. They just didn't know what to do. And everybody was waiting for mom to make a decision. She was punched out. So now we got this house. We're fixing it up. So we decided we're going to knock the wall out in the kitchen because they had that little kitchen. Now it's opening up to the family room. And Sophie, you've been involved working with Brook on the design, a little bit of the design input. So super great street, Northwood.
I agree.
Money.
Mm-hmm.
Up, you walk a block away is the playground.
Exactly.
Quiet street, no cut through.
Mm-hmm.
So
great location.
What's your thoughts, Brooke, on Northwood?
I mean, I'm excited. We're,
on hours?
Yeah, we're kind of at that halfway point in terms of our costs, what we projected. Next week will be a really crucial week. We're gearing up. I met with our guy who's going to be doing the tile work in the bathroom. So he's set to do that next week. All the drywall has gone up in the family room. The kitchen, the kitchen and family room already feel like a lot more bright, a lot more big. And once we paint everything and put the fixtures in, I think it's going to be just...
Well, and this kind of connects, Sophie, to sticking the landing because we got to know who are our potential buyers, right? And to me, it's first-time home buyer, young couple, kids, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it's good that I'm kind of leading the ship in terms of the design and the work there because past 14 months, I know what it's like to have a newborn and, moving into, your first house with that kid. And if it was me, I want something where it's nice and I don't have to do a damn thing. Like the bathroom's already done, the kitchen's already done, the basement's done, the house is painted, there's cabinet space. It's going to look modern, but not cheap modern. I think it's going to be a really classic kind of look. And then once it's done, we price it right.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood, I think it'll sell.
Sophie, were you ever in New York at the Hudson or the Royalton? Those Ian Schrager boutique hotels?
So I've been to those. I used to live in New York for a while. So
really?
Yes.
What part?
I lived in Brooklyn Heights when I was in grad school and Westchester County when I was younger.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So did you see the Hudson when first?
I don't remember if I saw the Hudson, but I've seen others of his hotels.
Okay. Yeah. Royalton was another one.
Okay.
I mean, he nailed it because he was trying to get that price point for, when my wife and I go to New York, I remember so intrigued in the early 2000s the Hudson to Royalton, because we used to go pre-Giuliani to New York, and we were in the Upper East Side staying at the Mayfair region, and they were offering a weekend package. That tells you how long ago that was. But then, New York got pricier, more expensive, and then Ian Schrager had great design. And every time we get a house like the Northwood house, the 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, I think, okay, how can we squeeze the most value in here without dropping a fortune? Like putting that bathroom in the basement. That's what we're going to be doing, right, Brook? So nowadays I'm thinking, people work at home, they work out. So what's the basement going to look like?
So in essence, it's going to be basically 3 rooms. You're going to have the finished rec room with either carpet or luxury vinyl plank. That room will be drywalled, nice lights in the ceiling. And then leading from the rec room leads you into the bathroom, which will have a shower, a toilet, a sink. And then there will be the washroom where the appliances are. All those old cabinets are going to be removed. It's going to be clean. It's going to be painted. It's going to be nice and simple. But as Sophie said, and I think when you said this, it made a lot of sense to me, is we have to make the basement bathroom and rec room feel like it's not in a basement. So it's kind of doing that extra stuff of, we normally would paint a rec room floor. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to put like a flooring down. The bathroom's not going to feel like a bathroom that's kind of
Fluorescent lighting.
And you feel like you're in like a Motel 6. It's going to be nice while still not breaking the bank.
Yeah, see, that's the sweet spot. And, we started out talking with Sophie about analytics, knowing your numbers. Knowing your numbers across the board. I don't care what business you're in. People get into the flip business.
I think there's things though, because it's like, when you talk about like a fancy boutique hotel in New York, to me, that sounds expensive because it's, you're doing a lot of like buying some custom stuff. But I think what you're trying to say and what I agree with is like, there's things you can do to the house already, like small things. Like I did this on my Rockefeller that I owned, where like, you're painting the mantle like a really cool kind of dark color. You're painting the bookshelf little closet doors, a dark color. You're putting in some kind of cool light fixtures. You're putting in nice cabinet pulls. It's all stuff that's not going to break the bank.
Well, Ian Schrager on his boutique hotels, I remember when we stayed at the Hudson, it's 20 years ago, 25 years ago. This was kind of a fairly new hotel. They had those little USB plugs next to the bedside. How much was to do something simple like that? Simple design does not have to be custom expensive. It's just those little attention details, like washing the window, like we're doing to the front door at Northwood. The old ratty old storm doors coming off, clear view, brass is going to be painted, new brass, light fixture, brass, this door's going to have a nice kind of funky, cool color, landscaping in front. It's just from the curb, it's going to look ready to move into.
That's the key for a young couple.
And I do think that what you're talking about, describing your house, your Rockefeller house, especially when you're looking at the younger buyers, maybe their first time home, they do like the architectural details of these homes and the heights, but they do want something that pops. And you talking about, we paint this a darker color, or, the mantle a darker color. It just kind of pops.
Yeah.
And doesn't cost much. It's just paint. But because it pops, because it's a little bit unusual, it just feels special.
Yeah.
And unique. And again, it didn't cost much. It was just a little thoughtful, a little design element to it.
Yeah.
And it differentiates.
I used to get into these arguments with realtors like 20, 25 years ago, and they would just come in brain dead and say, we've got to paint this all neutral color. I said, we're in Cleveland Heights. This isn't Solon. Okay. Cleveland Heights people are different. Anybody living here in a diverse community, they're going to want a little bit of a funky quality to it without being extreme. The last point I want to just touch on real quickly is poker.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a good poker player, Sophie?
I am.
I had a feeling you were. You may be a Luddite, but I have a feeling there's a lot of poker coming through here where being in control of the table is a poker thing. You've seen the movie Rounders, right?
I have not. I don't watch TV or movies. I don't know. Yes, I'll have to do
Oh, no. Homework. Homework.
homework. Okay, I promise.
Homework.
You're not alone. I haven't seen it.
Rounders. You haven't seen it? No. Oh, my God. I was playing golf with a guy. He says, I haven't seen The Godfather. I'm like, what?
I've seen that.
What?
I've also seen The Godfather.
Okay.
Tom.
No, Rounders. Oh, my God. You eat that with a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best poker movie out there. Rounders.
Matt Damon, Ed Norton, 90s.
John Malkovich, KGB.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to run home and see it. Pay this man his money. Yeah, Brooke got me that t-shirt for Father's Day. Pay this man his money. Anyways, but poker is understanding who's coming to the table, who's there, what cards do they have? Are they pre-financed? Are they cash? Right? So
What do they want? What are they afraid of?
exactly. So what's let's end on this note. So tell me how poker influences you street hustling in the real estate market.
It's just really understanding what you have, but the value that it could have to somebody else, right? So whenever I look at a property, and I do a lot of listings, but I help a lot my investor clients in buying as well, but mostly I list, I'm always looking at the angle, right? And it can be whether you're dealing with the other side, but also if you're listing a house, the appraiser. How can you get a house to appraise when the highest comp in the area, and I'm talking about an investment property here, was $120,000 less, right? And I did. But it's understanding, it's all about value and what people are willing to pay for something. And so if you can communicate that to the other side or to an appraiser, then you get what you want. And oftentimes what I find is I'm always getting on the phone with people. You cannot do this via text messages or emails, but you get on the phone with the other agent, and through you explaining the value, you're giving them the words to explain it to their clients. Because oftentimes I always tell the agents on my team, I'm like, you have to be prepared to do work for both sides. So when I'm negotiating for my client, I'm always thinking, if I could speak to their client, what would I say? And so that's what I say to the agent, hoping that they're smart enough to remember it and then use it on their client.
See, that's another thing people don't take into account. When we were selling our 10 plus houses, Brooke, I started realizing we need to know who's on the other side of this negotiation. Is it a realtor who knows what they're doing or just somebody clueless?
Yeah.
You know? And that's what happened when we bought the mansion 3 years ago. It was an investment group out of LA who bought it out of foreclosure. They upgraded the kitchen, the bathroom, stuff like that. But the outside was just in terrible condition. And we were intrigued because they had a vacant lot. And we were intrigued because we thought we could sell a bunch of properties and coalesce around one property that could serve 3 bigger parties. But anyways, I'm going off. The point was, when we were negotiating, Mike did a great job negotiating because he knew the real estate agent. And we made an offer X, which was a little under what they were asking. And there was another offer in there. But this other offer, the guy was a dick. Some Russian guy, whatever. Trying to beat him up on price. That other realtor couldn't wait to stick it to him. So he basically told Mike, you come back with this, it's yours. Well, he had to come up like 10, 20,000. Done. Saw it on Monday. Bought it on Friday, at $825. Now we had to put 200 in on the outside and a lot of cleanup stuff, but I mean, flagship. But again, knowing who are you playing poker with?
Yes. And what do they want? And what do they need? And, really understanding. And sometimes you don't know them, but you start getting a sense through the conversation. That's why I always tell my agents, get on the phone with the other agent. You have no idea what they will tell you. I remember this. This was probably 4 years ago. And we were on the buy side and we're calling the listing agent. They already have multiple offers. And so we're trying to get all this information. I'm like, thank you so much for taking the time, all this. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. He's like, yeah, you too. I'm like, oh, just one last question. Where do the other offers come in? And he told me?
Yeah.
Because he was not prepared for that part. At this point, we're not talking business anymore. And he just blurted out what the other offer was. And I'm like, thank you.
Hey, don't play poker with Sophie. We're going to end on that note. All right, folks. Next week, we're going to talk about continuing to stick the landing, more on Northwood. We're going to talk a little bit about that Fairmont Mansion. I want you rich Californians to listen up to that one because this could be one of the greatest houses you'll ever buy in your lifetime. More on that later. All right. Thanks, Sophie. Great having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Omari.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Riley. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.